What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we have the My Team career mode. We're at round 2, Jeddah, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. In the last episode, it was abysmal, to be honest. We finished 22nd in Bahrain. Today we've got to change that. Now, we have a couple of upgrades supposedly on the cards here. I think one in the powertrain, one in the aero, and one in the chassis, I believe. We might have a couple out there. Definitely have an aero. But I think we're just going to go and get some build time. Going to spend some cash real quick from our sponsors that have been paying us every week. Just to try and get some upgrades in a bit quicker. We're actually going to choose aero first to get the build time going as quickly as possible. Essentially that just affects how quickly you're going to get the new developments, the new upgrades onto your car. And as you saw a second ago, we do have an upgrade for the chassis, an upgrade for the aero, and an upgrade for the powertrain coming shortly. I'm just going to increase the time here, try and kind of maximize what we can develop, because I think our powertrain is spec 1, so that means we can do multiple upgrades at the same time. But we don't have the resource points. We've only done kind of one practice kind of weekend in Bahrain. We haven't had that long in the season to get the resource points we need. I don't know if you saw it a second ago. The one upgrade we have on offer from before the season started for the aero has failed. It was I think it was like a front wing, it's front downforce related. But we're moving on. As such is life. We've had something fail. Now let's focus on helping Yarno. We're going to tell him to go pace. He was also near the back in Bahrain. He's the highest rated driver of the esports drivers in the game. But we need him to be up there challenging the sort of, not necessarily back markers, but the lower half of the midfield. And as you can see, we just tried to get that upgrade back on to come as soon as possible, because we need it. We've got the slowest car in the field. We're just going to use quick practice here to just smash out some of the kind of resource point generation and also get some of those bonuses there before we jump into kind of third practice, which is going to be when we go behind the wheel ourselves. Instead of just simulating it, we're going to go to the track. And there'll be a little bit of a highlight here, just of some shenanigans from practice. I think this is potentially our lap. It's a race program. We only have the softs left because the AI, using the quick practice function, likes to burn through your tires. So it should be a pretty quick lap, to be honest. We do find a few tenths on our previous time, which is a 32.3, just in the first couple of corners. And you can just see here we do have pretty good grip, I would say. You want to dodge that outside curb on the left that was there, and also that inside curb, because as you see, it has a tendency of unsettling the car and sending you round. Thankfully we caught it. It was quite a large moment, to be honest, and you'll probably recognize.
Welcome to the Jeddah Corniche, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. But let's see who will be fastest of them all. We're about to set the grid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yes, it's qualifying.
And you'll probably recognize that moment actually from the thumbnail. It was actually the one I captured for this weekend for Jeddah. Obviously the walls are pretty close. Spinning out can be a massive issue, and potentially hitting the wall during the race, during qualifying. At any point, the walls are really close, the curbs will destroy you. You've got to be careful, you've got to have your wits about you, and you have to catch those slides. So we've got a setup here that we've been working on through practice. Not quite maxed on the front suspension, maybe a little bit more rear suspension added just for that stability on the rear end sort of going around, because it did feel a little bit slidey and the car liked to roll a bit on the back end. So we're just going to kind of yeah, keep adding. As you can see, we've got 4 different setups that we've just been kind of improving and changing as we go. But as Croffy said, it's qualifying. Once we leave the garage, we can't change the setup. So we're going to see what kind of times come in for the AI. And yeah, Red Bull and McLaren, even Mercedes beating out Sergio Perez so far. A lot of people on the board. And yeah, there's a few times still left to be set, so we're just going to wait. And then confirm we are in Parc Fermé regulations. We're going to go out and do a lap here. Now, Jeddah is one of those tracks that is quite good for the player, in my experience. This week, after Bahrain, we had such high wings in Bahrain that we just got obliterated in the race. We've this time gone for really low wings, and we're just chucking the car into the corners and hoping it sticks. So you'll see occasionally we do have some sort of moments of understeer, some moments of oversteer. We're just constantly trying to correct through the corners. A little bit of a lock up there as we go into turn 3. Now through this kind of windy section here, you want to be as close as you dare to the walls. Don't mount that curb. I'm trying to avoid that curb, but also being cautious because it does give you more time. But obviously you can kind of sacrifice this run down to the corner if you're not aggressive on the throttle. Now riding a little bit wide to the wall, we're understeering a little bit, I have to say, at the moment with this kind of setup. And it really affects us here on that long hairpin and a little bit in the first sector. But yeah, we kind of make it all back and more in the straight. So through into the final sector here, we apparently set a purple second sector, purple middle sector. Not sure if I believe that, but we're going to find out. Apparently Sargent has done a 33.9, and there's a few 32s in there as well. I did try and use an online tool to figure out the AI difficulty that would be representative. Safe to say I got that wrong. So obviously we're going to make it through Q1, no problem. I believe we absolutely have the pace to do that anyway, even on the harder difficulties.
Good morning, good afternoon, or for us, good evening, as we're under the night lights of Jeddah. The floodlights are on and so is the pressure here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Brown, Bottas, Magnussen, Russell, Joe, Hülkenberg, Sargent, and the owner driver rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. As we all know, every single driver wants to know what's required of them. And in the case of this driver, I think things are pretty stable at the moment, that they're doing what the team require. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, you know, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
So yeah, here we are for the race. What I was going to say before Crofty rudely interrupted us for the intro to the race is we obviously smashed Q1 due to the AI difficulty. I did amend it for the race, so the race should be a lot more representative in terms of our pace compared to the AI. But obviously after Q1 I didn't do any laps in Q2. I essentially just retired and said, look, we shouldn't have even gone through Q1. You know, potentially we could have done, not really sure, but I'll leave myself in P16. Now for the strategy, it looks like a soft medium kind of strategy here. I'm just kind of putting 18.5 laps of fuel in, but I'm actually going to flip the tyres around. So start off on the slower tyre, because we're probably going to be caught up in traffic, we're probably going to be battling a little bit for track position. But we've also got the pace in the straight line and the DRS to keep with the cars in front. But here we go. We've got the lights there on. Now they're out. And we are wheel spinning like there's no tomorrow. Off the line. We've got Ricciardo coming through on our left. We squeeze past Albon on the outside. Not quite brave enough to go around the outside of Gasly as well. And there we have Tsunoda, who was ahead of Albon going into that corner anyway, who we were side by side with. A little bit of a lock-up, not uncommon on slightly cold tyres with a bit less grip. And obviously I was absolutely smashing the brake to not hit the back of Tsunoda and give ourselves wing damage. Now, looking at it, whoever that is, somewhere towards the back end of the top 10, they've dropped massively from the pack in front. I'm not sure if they were just side by side a lot, or if they have some wing damage potentially. As you can see, through the corner and through traction zones, we don't quite have the pace of the softs. Obviously, we can't carry the same speed through corners, which I'm kind of following people into the corners, trying to match their speed, and it's just not working out, which is leading to lockups and everything like that. But down the straight, they have no advantage. They don't. We're competitive in the straight.
That start was okay. Now stay alert for threats around you.
And yeah, we do move up from P16 to P13. Sort of the end of the first lap. Albon is burning a lot of his battery right now to try and get ahead. He is on soft, so I'm tempted to let him go past as Magnussen sends a little wing up the inside of our rear left wheel. But thankfully he backs out of it. And yeah, I think Albon's going to be faster than us in Sector 1, so we would gladly let him go. We do lock up again on the rears actually this time, going into turn 1. And as we move forward, this is lap 3 now. We're sticking with them. And we don't really have to burn our battery too much as there's a yellow flag coming up towards this hairpin. Who's that on the left there? I think that's Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. We've got the same engine as them, and he's retiring from the race on lap 3. I'm not sure if that bodes well for our engine, as I'm sure Albon will have the same concern in the car in front of us as we just get a bit of DRS here on lap 3. Again, just sticking with this little train that I think goes up to P8, maybe P7, something like that. I'm just going to try and check the map a little bit and see who I can see ahead. But yeah, I think maybe it's P9. P12's in front of us, then P11, 10, 9. Yeah, this battle goes to P9. They are battling pretty hard, actually. We've got Tsunoda and Gasly side by side there. Through the last turn, we are very close to Albon, so I'm really tempted to burn my battery and get the move done here. Again, lap 4 now. The softs will be dropping off at some point in the future if we send it a little bit harder down the inside to not just get Albon, but to get Tsunoda as well, putting us up to P11 in this race. Again, we're getting better with the car. We're kind of learning how much we can push, how much we should be, you know, trying to rotate the car upon braking and everything, as we almost hit that inside wall there. And it was very, very close indeed. had to kind of turn out of the corner a little bit just to make sure we didn't take ourselves out of the race. As Gasly and Ocon, will they be better friends in this race than they have been in the real life F1 recently in Monaco? It's a few weeks ago now, but I'm sure the memory is still fresh in their minds of what happened that day. Who was that? That was Gasly, locking up massively and just going straight on. Kind of left a gap perfectly sized for our car, just to kind of carry on going through. And now Ocon has no DRS. We've got the battery and the DRS. We switch it back to the outside, give him plenty of room, and we're just probably going to give him a little squeeze maybe. No, we give him the room. He was there. But we do manage to kind of squeeze him on the inside there just to kind of claim the corner. We were very side by side. It was a very sketchy moment. But I had the space to go for the run-off if we did make contact. Ocon, on the other hand, did not, so he had to back out of that. And we are now in the top 10, believe it or not, moving on to lap 5.
Stroll is ahead of you. Okay,
Stroll is ahead of us.
4.5 seconds.
Mark is telling me that they're on the medium since the start, so we should be pretty even on tyre, but obviously the Aston Martin should be a bit better, although Stroll potentially not. Again, Jeddah is a track that is good for the player, mainly because of, you know, taking the curbs, kind of really pushing the boundary up to the wall. You know, AI can be good at that, but for curbs and riding curbs and maximizing the space on the track, like turn 1 here, I can really ride that curb all the way to Sunday, so get a massive amount of wheel spin on the exit of turn 2 there. But I can ride those curbs massively. Even a bit here I can ride that curb. It is a bit slippy, I will say that. If you're ever racing on Jeddah yourself, just be careful not to smash the throttle as you go onto that curb there, purely because it might unsettle the back end a little bit, as it did with me quite a lot in this race and through qualifying and practice. Again, we're not really gaining on Stroll. The soft runners behind, they are dropping back a little bit, but they're just about staying on the fringes of DRS. So we are solidly in P9 right now. I think there's a lot of battling going on behind us, and they're kind of holding each other up from gaining anything, which is why I wanted to get ahead of those drivers initially, get the track position, let them fight it out behind us, and then just stay at your own pace and make a little bit of a gap. Once they don't have DRS on you and they're fighting themselves, as I have a massive moment at the hairpin there, just trying to put the power down, trying everything I can to get onto the back of Stroll and keep Ocon and Albon away behind me. That's the key. You can see, especially compared to the last race, our tyre wear in the bottom right is so much better. It's unbelievably even across all of the tyres, even with the little lockups and everything like that we've had. Generally the car is nicely balanced. If it slides, I can catch it. If it understeers, it's a little bit harder, it makes me a bit slower, but I'm not at risk really of having any huge incidents, which is kind of what we want out of the car. Again, I worked on this setup a lot for myself during the practice session. I did show a highlight of one of the laps I was doing. But again, overall the cars felt pretty good this weekend. I think a lot of our pace in Bahrain was down to setup. A little bit of AI, but honestly I think it was mostly setup. Too slow in the straight, but this weekend we've gone the opposite direction. We've gone, give me all the straight line speed you've got, you know, put the wings down as much as I dare so I can still stay with the AI or with the other drivers in Sector 1. And there are a few people pitting there actually. We've got Sainz, Stroll, Perez all pitting from the mediums onto the hard, it looks like. They obviously don't think the soft can go to the end from here, And although it's telling me to pit, I'm actually thinking, well, maybe as I make a little bit of contact and just keep it out of the barrier. That was extremely close. Obviously, we've lost an unbelievable amount of time there. As you can see here, I just turn in a little bit too early. I see it at the last moment and try and steer out. That contact pushes me wide as I try and get back onto the track. The back end slips out. That curb then unsettles the car and just miss that barrier on the outside there. So unbelievably lucky there. And obviously we're going to box potentially at the end of this lap. Another huge slide there. The tires, they don't look that worn, but I definitely feel like there's a massive drop off here. And again, we're just going to do a relatively safe pit entry here, just to keep it calm. Kind of let the, you know, the blood calm back down a little bit. Release the tension from my arms. Let the team do their thing and change these tires. And then we're going to be on the soft tire. And there's an error. Of course, when we have points on the table, in only our second race of the season here, we bottle the pit stop. I mean, that bottle has put us right to the back of this pack here, which we're in P19 now, but we're behind some medium runners who have more tyre wear as well than me. They've boxed 2-3 laps ago, so it's not a massive amount, but it's enough to make a bigger impact again than just being on the softs. And you can see with a bit of use of battery here on Joe, we're going to go down the inside of the hairpin, trying not to run into the back of Tsunoda, which we do. We do take a look to the outside of Tsunoda, such as our pace around the corners on these fresh soft tyres, but there was nothing really doing there. And here we go, just into this next corner. A little bit of a cinematic look here for you, and we just have the pace on the exit of the corner. The softer tyre really does give you a lot more grip, and with the DRS and the battery, looks like we're still a little bit side by side as we go into this next sort of left-right chicane. We do get past him, potentially being a little bit braver than Tsunoda there. He was maybe concerned that he was going to get cut off on the right-hand part of the chicane as he's now coming back at us. But we stay in the middle of the road just to try and, you know, force him to back out of it and, you know, create a bit of uncertainty of where he wants to go, inside or outside. So we're just going to kind of bide our time here. As Ricciardo braking a little bit early and locking up, I'm just going to politely ask him if I can come through there, because he did brake so early. I'm not sure why he didn't attack Russell. Potentially he thought Russell's in a faster car, he's not my fight, but ultimately he lost the position because of that sort of like passive mentality, which right now we're all on the aggression here. We're just trying to get through these cars, make use of our soft tyres, and see where else we can go in this race. There is a huge gap actually in between the car at the front of this train, which is Hülkenberg, as we go around the outside of not just Russell. Can we also get Magnussen here? We do have the inside for the next corner. We should be able to get it as we go a little bit deep, but we do make the move stick, and I do have to say I was pretty proud of that move. Again, we have a massive advantage at the moment with the soft tyres, but and apparently Magnussen also has issues with his car, so there's a lot of, you know, kind of going back and forth. We do have a massive tyre advantage. We do have fresher tyres as well. Magnussen was also having issues, so it dampens the move a little bit, but it was still a great move, as now we are getting the traction out of the last corner on Bottas. Hülkenberg has no defense, he's got no DRS. I'm not even using the battery here, such as our pace in a straight line, and we get the move done, and we just try and cut across the front of Hülkenberg there just to get into the corner and into P12 solidly. And now it's just all about qualifying laps, getting the consistent pace. We do have a purple first sector thanks to that DRS and our soft tyres and low fuel towards the end of this race. green middle sector. I think, again, DRS helps massively in Jeddah. And as we run up to the line, that is a fastest lap. A lot of the leaders, I think, are on the hard compounded tyre. On the medium as well, they wouldn't have been that much faster on their first stint, purely because they've got full fuel loads, battling, all of that good stuff. We instead have had a couple of laps of, we used the tyres a little bit in overtaking. We've got relatively fresh tyres, low fuel, we're a lighter car now than we were. We also got the DRS from Magnussen to start the lap, and somewhere we just snatched the fastest lap. We do make a pass on Gasly, almost hit the back of Albon there, and you can just see our grip on traction compared to the Williams of Albon. Again, Williams potentially a back marker-ish kind of team. They are sort of lower midfield car at the moment, which we almost go completely straight on, as Mark is reminding me, hey, you're going to get understeer when you're at the back of another car. And here's Albon really trying to get past here. We do leave the inside a little bit, but we're able just to brake so much later, and so much later that we almost went around the outside of Ocon there. Obviously we couldn't get the move to stick at all, but we do have DRS now as we look for the inside. Nice and cautious on the brakes. We don't want to run into him. We leave him the space on the inside, but again, our traction and use of the battery potentially on the outside, easy pickings for us. And we're actually into P9 again, where we were before. Again, being cautious of some of the curbs. You can see the car wanting to move around as we put the throttle down on those flat kind of striped curbs there. The raised ones are really bad. They can take you out completely, just purely because you lose all the downforce from the floor, which obviously in this year's game is a huge aspect to your downforce. Your ride height can change how the car feels entirely, and if you upset that downforce, you're going to spin. Now here we go. We're actually on the last lap already. Feels like this race has been action-packed from the start to finish here, whether it's me spinning out on my own or making some overtakes, as again the car is starting to unsettle a bit as the tyres do get worn. Again, around 24-25%. It does seem to want to let go a little bit more, but yeah, we made it to the last lap. We're just taking it easy. Gasly and Albon are 4 seconds behind us. Stroll is 13 seconds ahead of us, so we're not going to gain any positions from here. We just got to get the car home. No mistakes, don't hit it in a wall. Last corner as Max Verstappen wins. I think there's a McLaren in second as well. We'll see the results afterwards, but now we're crossing the finish line for a points finish in Season 1 of my team.
Take care of the car on the way in.
Driver of the day to boot. Fastest lap, points, and driver of the day.
A sterling effort from the team and a magnificent drive to secure victory here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
And there we are. Max Verstappen taking the win, Lando Norris in second, and Ferrari in third. I'll have to take another look there. Is that sign? Let's have Leclerc. Here's Leclerc. I've got a small screen here when I'm recording the voiceover. Sometimes I can't read too well what it says on the back of people's tops. But there we are. 3 winners from today.
After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
And as you can see here again, the standings: Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc, Alonso, Piastri, Perez, Sainz, Stroll, then myself with fastest lap, thank you very much, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Hulkenberg, then Ricciardo, Russell, Bottas, Tsunoda, Zhou, Magnussen, Logan Sargent, Jarno, who wasn't in last because Hamilton DNF'd. So clearly Jarno has a little bit of work to do. Here are the standings. We're somehow in P10. Obviously, we got a couple of points for being in P9 and 1.4 fastest lap. And Budo Racing straight up into 6th position on the constructors' standings. So all in all, a great race for us. You know, it feels like a win. And again, I think setup, all about setup. There's some highlights here just to kind of show. You'll see the start where I dive down the inside of Albon, I believe, down the outside even of Albon. You'll see just on the left of your screen how close that was. It was just a car's width there. But yeah, very happy. It was a great race. I think, you know, we have some conversations going about new sponsors potentially coming to join our team, potential partners, to kind of help us get further forwards on the grid, and hopefully this kind of, you know, this kind of performance from the team kind of really helps build that trust that we can be the team to move forward. We can be the team to eventually challenge, you know, the upper midfield, constantly getting points, that kind of thing. But I'll leave you guys with the rest of these highlights, and we'll see in the next few races if anything changes in regards to any... That was such a close spin. See if anything changes in regards to any new partners or sponsors that come in. So again, join us next week for the next race, which is Australia. Obviously this is future James doing the voiceover, but I recorded that one last night and I'm sure you will all love it. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed today, leave a like, and enjoy the rest of the highlights, which is probably just going to be me crossing the line. But we'll catch you guys next week for Australia.